All right, friends, take two. We are talking today about the body's problems with illness. We're going to get started with the reading that we did from Arthur Frank. And Lorraine was just telling us a little bit about the difference between monadic bodies and dyadic bodies. And she mentioned that a monadic body is kind of superficial just for itself, whereas a dyadic body seeks that connection of shared experience. And Arthur Frank agrees with that. For Arthur Frank, the monadic body is for itself and the dyadic body is for each other. And for him, both of these bodies are ethical choices that we make. They're less ideals and they are real embodied actions, choices that we make. For the dyadic body, for the monadic body, he says that contemporary medicine, healthcare, encourages the monadic body in various ways. You know, if you think about the hospital experience or the illness experience in most contemporary healthcare situations is designed to isolate people in their illness. If you think just even about hospital rooms and the way hospitals are segmented from the community and spaces that we're not allowed to enter, and even more so, I think, in the time of COVID for necessary reasons. I recently had a friend in hospice, and it was very, very difficult to get in to see her and for her family to be with her. So for good reasons, for any reason at all, we find ourselves in these situations where we are siloed from others and we don't get to have that connection. He argues that the dyadic body, though, seeks out those opportunities for connection, seeks out ways to be for the other. And he says this is a lived reality, not simply a conceptual ethical ideal. And this ethical reality is, as I said, a choice to place oneself in a different relationship to others. And this choice is to be a body for other bodies. He goes on to talk about 4 other ideal types of bodies where he calls these more narratives than anything else, more stories that we tell ourselves. And these stories are so capable of change. And any given illness experience, you might cycle through these different types of bodies. But he says that for him, the real ethical ideal is the communicative body. And the communicative body accepts its own mortality, accepts its contingency, understands that we are fragile, bodies will fail. And the fact that we are a part of this shared community of suffering actually makes it so that we can be for other bodies in the meantime. He says the contingent body is fully associated with itself. And in this contingency, it develops a productive desire to join with other bodies and express the full ethical ideal of the communicative body. So as we watch K Tempest today, I want everyone to kind of be wondering about what kind of body, whether it's a monadic body or a dyadic body, that's being represented by these voices or by a single voice in different ways. You don't need to worry so much about whether this is a dominating body or a mirroring body. Just so much, just focus on monadic or dyadic. Keep it simple. So we're going to watch K Tempest together do her performance that I posted on the Thinkific board. But before we get started, are there any questions or comments on monadic, dyadic bodies, on the communicative body? Please, Kim.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of whenever you were unpacking that was I remember always thinking, and I think it was my mom that pointed this out because she's a nurse too, even the way that hospital beds are designed, they're designed for one human, one body. Yeah. And so thinking about how you need to be close to somebody sometimes for healing to happen. How she said, why can't we have beds that are bigger for if you need to be close to that person? And I know that sometimes certain illness processes don't allow you to physically be close because they're so sick, but sometimes they're not. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, why do, and I'll always posit that question to my students. I'm like, hey, did you ever notice there's only room for one person? So I have seen people try and stuff themselves in the single bed. And so you'll come in to the room and you're kind of taken aback, but then you realize you're like, oh, that's normal, but that's okay. Like she needs that or he needs that. So anyways, that's the first thing that always comes to my mind is even the way our beds are designed are one human, but we
Yeah,
need more than one human sometimes.
yeah, that's such a great point. I often think about just the ceiling, the way the ceilings, I mean, people who are bedridden and all they can see is this up here, and it's just white space, totally disconnected from the world. I've always thought it would be such an interesting experiment to design a hospital where you have, you know, pictures of the outside or windows or you know, I know it's not always possible in this ideal world, but what a creative opportunity for artists to come in and design something for ceilings, something to engage. Can anyone think of any other examples of how our system as it is designed to isolate and perhaps brainstorm ways to make it better? Yes, please, Maeve.
Yeah, interesting. I've just, our department have just moved into new premises, you know, apparently state of the art premises. But the reality is it's in central London and the therapy rooms are in -2. So not only underground, but like deep underground. And you feel as you go down there, this just, oh,
Yeah.
and like, I'm in the business of wellness and coaching, and even I'm feeling like this. Now, they do have some sort of artwork, a little bit of artwork on the walls, but um, equally in our hospital, there has been some, that just happens to be my part, but in our hospital, we have won an award for artwork. It was some sort of European healthcare artwork that has been curated at University College Hospital London, and I'll send you just the communication that I received coincidentally on Friday, just in a kind of round robin thing, and these are beautiful pieces of artwork on the walls of some of the rooms that the patients are admitted into, but I'm really interested in the bed thing that you've brought up, Kim, because actually in some of the maternity units, they are now, you know, acknowledging that two people need to share a bed for you know, birthing to come about, or having the option of doing that. Yeah, really interesting point. Thank you.
What a brilliant initiative. We'd love to see that communication. If you wouldn't mind just posting it on the community forum, that'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to watch Kay Tempest do her beautiful, I'm sorry, do their beautiful thing. And that's something that I want to point out. Kay Tempest now uses they, them, their pronouns. And if you make a mistake like I just did, we're just going to cruise past it. Just correct yourself real quick and keep going as best you can so that we can honor their choice. All right, so I'm going to pull up end times. See if I can do this. Can everybody see my full screen? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as we watch, we're going to be paying close attention to Kay's embodied performance. How does their body, including their rhythm, their gestures, their tone, etc., reveal the story? So as you're watching, you might want to make a couple of mental notes because that's what we'll be discussing afterward.
I can smell the thunder coming. I can smell the rain. Look, you're the only one I ever knew whose eyes could hold the flame without burning like the others burnt. She told me hell's to blame, and I told her hell's a choice we make, and Blake would tell the same. If all deities reside within, How come I feel that presence above? The love that unplugs the heart and starts the floods again within me, drowning out the badness that I harbor. When my goodness battens down the hatches and holds on to storms coming, of course it is. It always is on nights like this. Because the tower blocks are murmuring, and I can sense a turning wind, and I glimpse this man who isn't there, and I know that glitch for all it's worth. Because I pass out full of madness, and I wake up drenched in thirst, like, give me whiskey, give me beers to glug, just let me lose this fear, and I'll love anyone who's near enough to look in slightly like you. All I'm trying to say, today's like all them other days. And all I'm trying to do is mark it down and make it true, to make it count for something, because I know nothing is eternal and nothing means a thing, and nobody believes nothing. That's why we live in all this sin, and we mistake it for normality, for something to attain. My descent sets me apart, but today I smell that rain, come to wash away these masks, the marks embedded on our weary hearts, and this is merely metaphor. But metaphor is flexing jaw and getting ready for the fight has come to fight with the surface world. But we have lost our purpose, hurled into a furnace where the burn is near celestial, detestable outsider. Yes, my chest is full of cyanogen and lightning, and my eyes will dim, but the rhymes will sing in times to come. Since I begun, my head's been filled with end, because these people wear too many faces. But I swear the truth will strike again. You see, I wake up in the end times, curled up in the wreckage, thinking life will happen, whether you dismiss it or expect it. So look into my eyes, you'll see your own eyes reflected. I'm crying oceans into paragraphs, while behind our backs our shadows laugh. We wake up in the end times, curled up in the wreckage, saying life's gonna happen, whether you dismiss it or expect it. So let me look into your eyes and see my own eyes reflected. I'm crying oceans into paragraphs, because behind our backs our shadows laugh. Look, when I'm telling rhymes, I shut my eyes because it helps me see stuff. These words, they're like the leaves in the bottom of the gypsy's teacup. If you look at them right, you might see the future in them. See, I always knew that we were here for more than wash the dishes, do the cooking. See, I'm here to speak for everyone that never got a look in. You know, the ones who ain't good looking, the ones who hate the crooked, wicked nature of the system. For everyone who knows fucking just because we can't see the bars don't mean we aren't imprisoned. I believe every soul is born blessed with true wisdom, and that life is about getting back what was given before life. How come we are all in these disguises hidden? How come we sleep through life and live in dreams? Is it because we can't tell the difference now? All my life, people looked at me without suspicion. I'm like, yo, I got to be what I got to be. I'm the victim of my own condition. And the meaning is the same no matter which language speaks it. The new paradigm begins as soon as you're ready to perceive it. And that's the real talk. These are whirlpool words you can drown in. But I'm so desperate for beauty, I'll turn scaffolding to mountains. I'll turn traffic into breakers while this illusion overtakes us. I'm saying we need to learn to bite the hand that bullies and berates us, because we're going to wake up in the end times. We're going to be curled up in the wreckage thinking, yeah, life's going to happen, whether we dismiss it or expect it. So let me look into your eyes and see my own eyes reflected. I'm crying oceans into paragraphs, because behind our backs our shadows laugh.
Does anyone else have tears in their eyes?
I love hearing their poet. I remember when I first, gosh, I forgot when one of her first or their first songs, or a poem about a soldier way back was one of the first encounters I had with their work, and I'm like, who is this human? I just remember thinking that.
Totally, I agree.
Yeah.
Any other just first, like, where does it hit you in your body reactions to this?
Goosebumpy, shivery. It is cold out here, but I think goosebumps from the thing as well, you know. I have a hot water bottle here, but it goosebumps anyway.
Were there any particular moments that made you feel those goosebumps more?
I didn't write down any lines, but kind of right around the pauses, the slow bits, you know, the bit where her throat, because she was angry for most of it, but then
and she kind of touched her chest at one point. It was really beautiful,
Oh,
fabulous,
well,
powerful.
when she said, oceans and paragraphs, like she said that quite significantly,
Yeah.
and not very like,
And look into my eyes and I'll see your eyes. She's just really powerful.
Yeah.
She goes, so she's got iambic pentameter, so she has the up and down, and her body moves up and down with the cadence. She actually moves in space like that.
Did anyone else feel their body doing it too?
Yeah. You want
Consciously, like following the rhythm of that. Yeah, and that's a great point too about the line, look into my eyes and see your own eyes reflected. Something just so powerful there. And this was not intentional, but I had our faces on the left-hand side of the screen, so it's almost like she's talking like we're the real audience here. And I could see it kind of like, almost like she was looking right at us, at our faces in that moment. I also noticed how, I apologize again, I also noticed how they would look from face to face to face as they're speaking, the faces of the actual audience. And I thought, how difficult that must be as a performer, to be in that moment of performance and still connecting, still looking people right in the eye. And the power, the magnitude of that is really so moving. And Catherine, you brought up the hands to the chest. Did anybody else notice anything about their hands? Yeah, Maeve.
She also beat time with her hands. She shook out the hands and touched her forehead.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot going on with the hands. It reminded me of someone's brilliant post about Tracy Chapman and the video and watching the hands, and how the hands tell a certain story too. Sometimes they're ringing out, sometimes they're pleading with us to pay attention, to listen, sometimes on the head, sometimes up to the sky. The hands are a narrative device here too.
Interestingly, with her eyes, she sometimes had her eyes closed, and she mentions that in the poem as well, that she closes her eyes sometimes to get the meaning of her words.
Yeah, she tells us why.
She tells us that. She connects with that. And so she did close them at times and really tightly and then open them,
Yeah, I thought that was really clever the way she kind of said it as like, it helps me see stuff, like as she's got her eyes closed.
Like the paradox. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of yeah.
Keep going, Anna. Keep going.
No, I was agreeing with the eyes, and it kind of brings her back. It brings both of us back into the same room in a way, because she's telling this really personal thing, but very universal, and then you only get that when she goes, "Oh, you see, I'm closing my eyes because it helps me see things," and we're all like, "Oh, okay, fair enough," or we all just kind of completely.
So it's like when we close our eyes, we all see the same thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's unifying.
Just even just saying those lines, that because we've all been thinking them for the whole thing. So she's very much present with us as opposed to we're present with her. It just kind of.
I love the idea that with eyes closed we are unified, which is somewhat metaphorical for what we were talking about with a communicative body that recognizes its own mortality, its own contingency, this shared the fact that one day all of our eyes will close, in a sense, brings us back to each other. I love that. And I think there's also something interesting in the paradox, between, saying something with eyes open about closing the eyes makes me wonder, what kind of looking are we doing with eyes closed?
Better, because that's what I always tell, like whenever, like even just last night when I had one of the students feeling a patient's legs and she couldn't feel a temperature difference, I said, close your eyes and touch him. Now do you feel it? And she was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, because you were getting too many cues about what you were expected to feel from seeing the things around him, but as soon as you close your eyes, then she felt it.
When I'm working on babies, I have my eyes closed the whole time.
Yep.
And if they've got other siblings with them, they're always like, "Why is the lady asleep?" That's how I concentrate.
Yes.
You should say you're magical next time if they're young enough. You know, you have special powers.
I'm a massage therapist, and I work 90% of the time with my eyes closed.
It's your
And
meditation too.
it is. It becomes that's a great analogy. For me, meditation is really about presencing and feeling, dropping out of my head and into my body. And that's what we're going to be practicing today, is that kind of embodied listening, which is also a paradox, right? You know, usually, you know, you listen with your ears, you know, you are hearing for certain things, but there's another way to listen that also drops us just out of the realm of just our heads and into our full bodies, where we start listening with goosebumps, with our hearts racing a rhythm, following a beat, pausing in the silences, holding our breath. You know, there's a way that we listen with our whole bodies. Could you feel your body listening in this? It's almost as if her body compels our bodies to listen. You can't help it, you know? Do you guys have any thoughts on embodied listening in your healthcare practice? How else do you listen with your whole body, even when it's a story being told? Verbally rather than tactilely.
Sitting down.
Yeah.
Just simply sitting, that's the first clue that I give. I'm like, first move your chair closer to the human you are talking to. Just simple cue, because they're over there on the computer like far away, and I'm like, you're going to get some information but not the stuff you need to. So I'll literally like, I'll ask the student, I was like, can I touch you? And they're like, yes. And so I'll kind of push them in the back and physically like move them. So just getting closer in space.
That's great, Kim.
Yeah.
Facial expression. Body
facing them,
nodding, or you know, showing that you're listening, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think leaning it, you know, there's a leaning in, but there's also a leaning back, a sort of settling into your chair. And often I will put my hand on my heart if I hear something really difficult. And also, because I have to take notes sometimes, not all of the time, but I'll often ask permission, or I'll say, I have to write some things down. Do you mind if I do this? But I am listening to you. So I want to tell them that. I guess that's verbal. You said.
No, that's great.
So I'm sidetracking here.
No.
But it is trying to cue them into the fact that you are listening. But then if I'm really hearing something that I want to explore more, I would disconnect from the screen and just give them 100%.
Yeah.
And that's a paradox, I guess, in the listening when you're also having to take notes, you know, professionally to for all the reasons that we do that for.
Sure. What I really love about all of these helpful tips for embodied listening is that some of them are focused on how we listen, and some of them are focused on how we demonstrate our listening. And I think both are very, very important, especially in service of that dyadic communicative body that is for others and wants others to know that we are for them. So great ideas, everybody. All right. Oh, please.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry, I was going to say a very simple one as well, similar to what Kim was saying, like even just the direction of your entire body altogether to the person. You know, a lot of the time someone will be at their desk and you'd be there and you'd be chatting away and they'd be at their desk either looking over their shoulder at you or not even looking at you at all. So kind of the basic kind of point your body towards them and be close to them, like Kim said as well. So.
Yeah, Anna, that reminds me a little bit of there's a philosopher named Levinas, who I don't think we've read any of this semester. We might have talked about him obliquely, but Levinas writes about something he calls the encounter with the face. And for Levinas, the face is kind of an opening between bodies, the place where we come closer to the edges of ourselves, the edges that actually define us in connection. And it's through this face-to-face encounter that we are better able to make that ethical choice to be by and for others. And for Levinas, you can't do it without that encounter with the face. And for him, the face is not just this. It's not just this. It's actually looking at someone and seeing who they are, you know, looking for the person behind the skin. It's a face, and it's also something so much deeper, so much more. And that's the connection that we're looking for with our patients too, is to see them beyond the human, but beyond the patient. Not the face that healthcare gives them, but the face that they came in with.
I'll just say one last thing on that whole area, Julia, and it's something that Maeve alluded to there about, like in my work where we really only have 15 minutes with each patient, you know, and as a trainer on the GP scheme, you know, the educators are inclined to suggest to the registrars that they type and listen at the same time, you know, because you've only got 10 or 15 minutes. So, and it's interesting. So there was a while whenever, you know, we were all trying to do that or try it out. But I guess over the last couple of years, I'm particularly funny enough through COVID, I realized that was just so disruptive and so disrespectful, really, I suppose, in a way to the patient, that I've stopped doing that altogether. So I just make the odd scribble, write down, like Maeve, I'd say, do you mind if I just write that down, or if I recap on what you've said, because it's really important, but I just sit and listen. But it does mean that I'm really behind and that all my patients are waiting, and, you know, or else I leave it all to do at the end of the session. But at the end of the day, it's a small thing, and I just feel that, and it's interesting when we do videos of the registrars, you know, watching their communication skills, looks absolutely terrible whenever they're typing and the patient's sitting there. So we've kind of, well, I certainly and a lot of my colleagues have moved away from that, although the training bodies still haven't. So it's just an interesting point.
Yeah, that's great, Catherine. Let's practice Catherine's method together. As we move into the next section, half of us are going to be actors and half of us are going to be listeners. And those who listen, let's practice Catherine's method. Let's come to the task of listening with our whole bodies. Let's aim for an encounter with the face of the actors. And then when necessary, we can take notes. And then we'll have some time afterward to finish completing any notes that you want to make before we start our close reading discussion. For the actors in this next section, we are going to strive to be K-like in our acting. We're going to bring our whole bodies to the task of speaking. That's going to mean we're going to stand up. That's going to mean we're going to use our hands. That's going to mean we're going to speak from the heart or from the belly or from any place in your body it feels that voice needs to come from to say the line on the page. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So let's pull out Wasted, which is one of Kay's plays. This play is designed for 3 people. So can I have 3 volunteers? Just raise your hand if you'd like to be a volunteer to read. Hey, Maeve,
to read?
Yes. Maeve, you'll be number 1. Oh, please.
Okay. Hopefully I'll be able to pull it out. Just bear with me.
No worries. No need to disclaim. We'll bring whatever we have. It doesn't matter what we expect to come out to the other side. Anyone else? So Fiona, you wanted to be a reader as well? Yeah. Oh, you be number 2. Do we have a number 3?
I'll do it.
Okay. Is that Catherine or Anne? Okay, great. Yeah. Catherine will be number 3. Okay. All right. So I'll be our director. I'll tell you 1, 2, 3, go. And I will also read our introduction. Does anyone have any questions? All right, so actors, if you can, stand up. You can adjust the angle of your screen if possible so that we can see your face. If not, you can just sit down and do the best you can to, yes, fantastic, Catherine, fantastic. Fantastic, Fiona. All right, fantastic, Maeve. You all look fantastic.
And I can't see you guys yet. Okay. Right.
Great. I know this is big improv in a Zoom call to do a play, so we'll just roll with it. Whatever happens is great. All right.
Sorry, just hold on a minute because I'm flicking through screens here. Sorry, not
Sure,
to
take
have
your
had
time.
this. Yeah. Okay, so I'm number 1.
Yes. Yep. Fiona's number 2, Catherine's number 3. All right. The sound swells to uncomfortably loud, maybe some white noise, and then cuts out. These 3, as well as being the characters, are also the chorus. When they are speaking the chorus lines, they are all and none of these characters. Any of them can speak any of the chorus lines. They should speak to the audience. They shouldn't be afraid of smiling at the audience or looking at them dead in the eye. They should speak in their own accents and be aware of the meter beneath the words in the way that you are aware of a beat when you dance to a song. These are not the characters yet, even though they are. They are also everyone that's ever felt how the characters feel. 1, 2, 3, take 1.
If we're being honest with you,
Actually, honest, not just apparently honest.
then we have to tell you we don't have a clue what any of you are doing here.
We're not really sure what any of us are doing here.
Thing is,
We wish we had some kind of incredible truth to express.
We wish we knew the deeper meaning.
but we don't.
We don't have nothing to tell you that you don't already know, and we thought it was worth acknowledging that.
Fuck it. While we're speaking plainly, let's get it all out in the open.
We're not used to this kind of environment.
We're the people that feel awkward in theatres.
The people that don't laugh at the bits where everyone else laughs.
The people that never know what to say afterwards when everyone else is expressing their opinions.
We don't want to stand here in front of you and pretend we can't see you.
We can see you.
You look lovely, and we're glad you're here.
We are.
We don't want to show you something impressive that makes you feel clever.
No.
We just want to show you something honest.
Something ours.
And we'll be happy if it makes you feel anything at all.
No big deal, but
At the same time,
everything we ever knew.
What this is home.
Deserted playgrounds, tramps singing on the street, bleeding gums outside the pub, takeaways and car exhausts and bodies till you can't see bodies.
working shit jobs,
And trying to care about things you don't care about.
and saving up to buy things you hate yourself for wanting.
Home.
Home.
A city where nothing much happens except everything.
Where everyone is so entirely involved in their own
Nothing much.
that they forget about the everything happening elsewhere.
And the thing is, if we're being honest with you,
And that's all we want to be.
it's important to tell you that we have no idea what we're doing.
We need you to understand the history here.
See,
We were 13 once, with our fists full of beer that we jacked from the offie.
we lived without fear
We looked up to our elders
and awaited the days
when we'd be looked up to by kids half our age.
the years passed.
We got wasted in raves and felt
Godlike.
Held spliffs up in the dark of the party like
Fog lights.
we were children in a city
Dogfights and rock pipes.
surrounded by
Deadbeats and lost types.
London belonged to
us.
Us. We smoked skunk on the bus.
Everything was ours.
We got thumped in the guts, but stood firm.
We were young and we trusted each other.
It was all romantic and real.
We was frantic and full of our feelings and laughing and squealing.
Holding our sides beneath the unfolding of skies in the evening.
Yeah, but things happened.
Our eyes got
Dimmer.
and our dreams got
Flattened. Sorry.
We got older, didn't we? We got responsibilities.
Started seeing our defiance and arrogance.
We used to be rebellious.
and angry.
And in it all together.
But time passed and we realized
Nothing
Lasts.
forever.
So now we carry it within us. The fact that we used to be
Eternal.
before the world caught up and and we forgot what we were living for.
We became
The inmate.
The guard.
and the key that locked the prison door.
We used to skim the surface.
So we sank and hit the river floor.
We realized
This is all there is.
There really isn't more.
staring down the barrel. Oh, sorry, I took the wrong line.
Staring down the barrel.
Of an empty bottle.
Asking it to give us more.
More. Hearts beating.
Slower than they used to, stressing over bills to pay.
A million distractions just to fill the day.
Faces grayer than before. It's not our world no more.
It's someone else's.
We're less empathetic and more
Selfish.
less independent and more.
Helpless.
Thing is, though,
We soldier on through the cityscape.
trying to carve out a niche for ourselves in our little ways.
Life's great. Maeve?
Oh, sorry, life's awful.
Repetitions and figure eights.
We're living like our best days.
Have already slipped away.
And honestly,
How can we rise up and take the reins back?
When all we really want to do is kill our dreams and let our brains
Smack.
themselves about in the corner of a rave.
Desperate for someone to help us, but convinced we can't be saved.
we got friends we've known since we were born, but we can't tell them what we're feeling.
We're alone with the city, with all its dirty, heaving mess.
Where the children fight for breath and get old before their time.
Or die young enough to live forever, or lose their fucking minds.
And that's the perfect tragedy of London.
A city where the best of us lose our ability to function.
And the worst of us thrive.
And the rest of us stride on and on through.
The mess.
The rust.
The flesh.
The lust.
The lies.
The breath.
The dust.
The skies we lift our heads so much.
The pride.
The sex.
The blood.
The fried food.
The stress.
The way we hide from the truth that is inside.
We hold so tight to our disguise.
That we find ourselves alone, and when we're surrounded, divided from our tribe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Fantastic. You all have a future in theater.
Yay!
Fantastic.
So much
work.
harder than you think to read off the page.
Oh, I'm
Fantastic work.
dreading it, Fiona. It's hard.
All right. So let's take a few seconds, as Catherine does. We'll let ourselves process this and make any notes that we want to, considering the question, what difference do you notice between reading this play silently to yourself before the class and seeing it performed or performing it yourself? What differences do you notice? Let's just take 20, 30 seconds to think about it, make a few notes. All right, friends, what are your thoughts?
Is London really that bad? That's my first thought. I was like, I didn't think it was that awful of a city. That it like soul sucks you. That's the first thing I thought. I was like, oh goodness. That was my first thought.
Funny, that's what I thought when I read it. I wrote down pessimistic despair, like a nihilistic kind of view.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just say doing it is way more fun
Yeah.
than reading it.
What's
And
fun about it?
oh, it's just fun to kind of to speak out loud and to move and to have a bit of fun and to say bad words and get away with it. And
yeah, and to do it together. Like there's something
and
fun about doing it together.
the words come alive, you know?
Yeah.
And it feels more real and more immediate.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Maeve, you had a thought too.
Yeah, my internet connection's a bit stable. Are you guys hearing me okay?
Perfectly.
You're hearing me okay? Yeah,
Perfectly.
okay. Kim, just in answer to your question, I live in London and oh my God, it's a city of great extremes. And yes, all of that is to be found, but it's also got wonderful things as well. It would have changed hugely in the 30 years that I've been there. Certainly, it was more, the streets were a little bit paved with gold when I first came. Now, obviously, things are difficult with our political situation, with climate change, with Brexit, all of the things, and COVID. But just to get back to this play, it was a little bit of a bizarre experience for me because I didn't have the work printed out. So I'm reading it from the screen, and in fact, I wasn't seeing any of you. I'm just seeing, hearing myself. But I love that, and I wish I could be in a room with you guys. I can't imagine how good that would be to be doing this together in a room. But this is as good as it gets, and it's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I felt like when I'd read it on paper, I felt like it was just a monologue nearly, even though it was 3 characters. It felt very much like it was the same person's attitude, whereas like it being 3 different voices, it felt more like that whole dyadic thing of like that you could have so many people all living in London and having maybe similar shared experiences, but also very different experiences, and it felt more multi-dimensional, I think, when it actually had different people's voices to it.
That's such a good point. Oh my God, it's amazing. Really true.
Let's talk more about that. Where did you guys see evidence, just in the words themselves, of dyadic or monadic bodies here?
Well, I guess whenever the 3 characters all spoke the words together, you know, like smack, and there was a couple of others. Yeah, that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I thought that too, Catherine, when we were all coursing together. In fact, so much so that I really want to do it again. I know we don't have enough time, but it feels like that was just our rehearsal. Now we've got to do it for real.
But also, it felt like you were finishing each other's sentences the whole way along, you know, which made you feel like you were sharing it and sharing the same feeling. So it, you know, as Fiona was saying, so you were, it was like you all were thinking the same thing and, you know, ending each other or following on from each other and, you know, sharing and ending each other's sentences, you know.
Yeah.
And in a way, that was kind of tribal, that you would have known each other so well that you could do that.
Yes.
Yeah. You often see twins do that very well. And they finish each other's sentence, they're kind of just like ping ponging, like wow. Or if sometimes me and Mum finish each other's sentences. No, she doesn't finish my sentences. I just finish hers. Predictable. And I'm like,
I'm so predictable.
Well, your sentence, what you're about to say to me is very predictable.
That's a blood.
So that's, you know, it happens. It's blood, you know, you have to get that close.
Blood. I like that. I like that metaphor. We see that in this. There's a kind of family, a tribe that is built. What about a monadic body? Do you see evidence of monadic bodies here?
Is monadic a something single?
Yeah, like kind of.
Kind of when, I think number 2, like Fiona had the most long sentences, long speeches, and they were kind of like unit on their own slightly. Sometimes if they weren't following on from another sentence or allowing another sentence to come in, they were kind of on their own. Sometimes not drastically, but just a statement on their own, and sometimes I think number 1 had that too. You know, there'd be a full sentence and it would be just theirs, and it would have stated something. So it was kind of like a turn or a pause, nearly. Kind of made pauses. If that makes sense.
Other thing I guess, go ahead. Go, Lauren.
No, it just seems to be more dyadic, because even with the language, like it's we all the time that they say.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to point to one passage. We got older, didn't we? We got responsibilities, started seeing our defiance as arrogance and stupidity. We used to be rebellious and angry and in it all together. But time passed and we realized nothing lasts forever. So now we carry it within us, the fact that we used to be eternal before the world caught up and we forgot what we were living for. We became the inmate, the guard, and the key that locked the prison door. And here in the text itself, we see this movement away from dyadic bodies to monadic bodies. So monadic, it's almost like being a prisoner in a jail cell and also the jailer himself. Right? And to me, that's what this whole poem is about, is this thirst, this desire for connection that exists back there somewhere if only we could get to it again. Right? And yet even just by talking about it in this trio, we see the story becoming the means, the vehicle for that connection, the restoration of that dyadic body. It brings me back to, you know, what Frank says about these bodies being stories that we tell. And in the telling of them, we create the body. In the telling, we create the communicative body. I think you guys did such a fantastic job. Beautiful close reading. I want to round out our close reading. We're going to go a few minutes over. Is that okay for everybody? Does anyone need to leave right on the dot? Okay.
No. Is it finished? Is an hour finished?
Flies by.
I know, it flies.
I can't believe it's over.
It flies. So we are going to do a reflective writing activity together. It's a short one. But first, I want to talk just about how this play or this either wasted or end times, how do you see this as a reflection of your healthcare practice? Is there anything in your healthcare practice that resonates with this?
Well, I feel strongly that she's talking to the kind of disenfranchised, marginalized communities, young people, kind of impoverished people, and forgotten people, really. And I guess like that's a lot of my practice. So, and interestingly, our GP scheme, the training scheme, we often use a lot of drama and spoken word for the young GP trainees. So, and it's really powerful. So I kind of feel that I feel it connects very well with what we're trying to do,
I think it also connects, a lot of our patients, if they've been in a lot of pain or if they've been suffering with depression or loneliness, it can apply to any of those patients too, because they don't feel like they're part of the community at all. And you might be the only person that they have to talk to, that they feel safe enough to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Like any kind of powerlessness, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also an empoweringness, just in the collaboration of the voices. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, any last thoughts before we move into our reflective writing? Oh, we lost Maeve, but she's back.
Oh, good, because I needed confirmation of language. I needed to understand. I didn't have time to look up some of these euphemisms, I guess. And since I'm not from that part of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Maeve,
I said that to Anna. I said,
your wisdom is being
the Americans know some of the words.
So like bleeding gums outside the pub, is that like referring to like a really bad alcoholic or like someone what does that mean?
A fist fight, I think.
Yeah, probably. A scrap.
Scrap, yeah.
What's a scrap?
Oh, like a fight.
Like a fight over
a drunken brawl.
A fight over your woman. Two men over the woman in the pub, and then they go out the back, and then they fight.
And the bleeding gums because they see. I didn't know. Now that makes sense.
I guess that's a possibility. I don't know. Maybe
it's a pity there's no dentist here.
Maybe from alcoholism and their coagulation is poor.
Yeah, I was like, there must be some gingivitis going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know. There's another.
It could be historical, like scurvy. Like in the pub, and they don't brush their teeth, and pirates didn't do that.
They need more limes in their cocktails.
What's an offie? We jacked from the offie.
Like an off license?
Off
license.
Where you buy alcohol?
Off license, yeah.
Oh, somebody that gives you a fake identification.
No. Where you buy alcohol.
It's that they have like
shop where you buy alcohol
to sell alcohol.
It's called an offie?
It's an abbreviation. It's an abbreviation for off license.
It's like the liquor store, Kim. The liquor store.
Yeah, you have a liquor store, so they have to be licensed stores.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of the teeth thing and the bleeding gums might also be a reference to poor dental hygiene and, because people are impoverished and they're poorly nourished and maybe not as hygienic as they could be.
So many signifiers of people in the liminal space, people who are impoverished, people who don't have adequate health care. These are great. You had one more?
I have two more. Spliffs, I'm getting, what's that?
It's a joint.
Joint. And is skunk also a referral to a joint?
Spliff is a joint.
That's actually weed. It's weed.
It's a type of cannabis.
It's marijuana, but it's particularly
skunk
strong
is,
and it's synthetic and it's really bad, actually.
It's cheap.
And Lorraine.
And
cheap.
Yeah, it's really cheap and it's sold to kids. It's a lot of the teenage kids would smoke skunk.
Oh, okay. See, this is all helping me be worldly. And the other fun,
you're having a cultural experience here, Kim.
The other funny thing, not that we can move on, was Henry, my 11-year-old, actually had detention this week for using the F word at school. And we're reading this, and I'm like, don't
The great
repeat.
leveler.
It's such a great word. And he made up a song, and I want to hear the song that he made up, and he got in trouble. I'm just like,
surely he should have had poetic license,
artistic license,
like May.
You know,
right? It's in a song, right?
yeah.
All right, friends, let's be our own poets now. We are going to do a reflective writing activity, this time together as a group. We're only going to have 3 minutes for this one because I just don't think we're going to need much more, but if we do, it's fine. I can expand it to our traditional 5. This is just a 2-line reflective writing activity. So both Wasted and End Times address the masks, the disguises that we wear. In your reflection, I want you to imagine that you are a member of the chorus in Wasted, and the play is done. You're coming back in the final page of the play after dropping your disguise. These 2 lines that you write of the play as a chorus member, what do you have to say about dropping your mask? Or what advice do you have for the audience? So I'll repeat that. What do you have to say about dropping your mask? Or what advice do you have for the audience? Write 2 lines from the perspective of one chorus member. It can be rhyming if you choose, or it can just be 2 lines. Ready, set, go. Set timer for 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes and counting.
So what advice do you have for the audience?
Does anyone need a few more seconds to keep going? Has everyone got 2 lines? Looks like Kim and Catherine might still be working. Nope, Kim's good. Catherine and oh, you need a few more seconds, Maeve?
No, it's just when I'm so sorry, when I ran out of the bedroom upstairs to get closer to the router, I left my pen and paper there, so I didn't come with my pen and paper into
Oh,
this room that I'm in now.
do you need
So I'm so sorry to
it?
pass on that. I feel if I go running back up there, I may disconnect. So I'd rather just stay with you guys for the next few minutes, if that's okay.
No problem. What I'll ask you to do then is after we do this exercise, you can email me 2 lines because we're going to be
Okay, yeah, sure.
a group woven poem with every member from our group. So from the
Okay, I can do that. Yeah.
So just email it to me afterward. But for the purposes
Yeah, for sure, I will.
Perfect. Just for today, though, I'm going to assign you all a chorus member number, just based on how you appear on my screen. Lorraine, you're going to be chorus member 1, Kim, number 2, Fiona, number 3, Anna, number 4, Catherine, number 5, and then I'll be number 6. Okay, everybody write down your number so you remember which one it is. All right, so we are going to read our woven poem 1 line at a time. So that means you're just going to read the first line. Lorraine will read her first line, Kim will read her first line, Fiona will read her first, Catherine, I'm sorry, Anna, then Catherine, then me. And then we're going to start over and Lorraine will read her second line, then Kim, then Fiona, then Catherine, then Anna, then Catherine, then me. Does that make sense? Then we'll have a full poem together. All right, so are you guys ready for our group experiment here? Any questions? All right, Lorraine, whenever you're ready.
Reach out and let go. You're not actually alone.
But your voice with others means you're not alone.
And breathe as the lights snap on after the last song.
You're on mute, Catherine and Anna.
Well, now, here you go. Here we are.
Close your eyes or keep them open.
My pages are open for you to read.
Someone else out there probably feels the same or has felt the same.
Did you hear the sound you made as one?
Watch the grayscale transform into colour.
The same bloody thing.
Let us see your face and you'll see ours.
Can you see me yet?
What's it? Yay!
That was good.
How well
That was amazing.
No. So what I'm going to do is once I get the second group's woven poem, I'll put it all together and I'll be sending it into the Intima at Columbia with your permission, of course, to publish this as our group poem for the semester.
Wow.
I thought it was lovely. Thank you guys so much. I know we're 9 minutes over time already, so if you have time to stick around, great. If not, wonderful. But I'd love to hear just a little bit about what this experience is like, meeting each other, finally interacting embodied in person.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I think you might have said, I think it was yourself, Julia, before that it's not, it's interesting as well. It's like we're writing to each other. It's like a pen pal or something before, which is also kind of fun. It's a nice thing to do, to kind of write to another. But I don't think anything beats seeing each other and, actually
using your body
to listen and, respond,
Yeah, I think just talking about body, using your body as opposed to using your head all the time. I'm a big believer in not using my head as I've gotten older. I've used it less, which
so
is good
old.
But
Ancient.
it becomes complicated when I have to go back into the world and use it much more. But I like using. Yeah, the body is, you can't. It's instinctive. It's our first thing, even when we're babies. So I prefer the body in communication.
It reminds me of the first body is water. The line that we read, right? Like this is our first means of communication. Is this, not this. This.
Mm.
Beautiful. Friends, thank you so much for an incredible semester. It has been such a joy to get to know all of you. I'm going to miss this. Man, am I going to miss this. I'll be posting on the community forum. We have I typically do a monthly workshop for the public. It doesn't have to be for healthcare providers. It's not limited to, you know, anybody in healthcare. And we do a 75-minute workshop once a month. Our next one is going to be on November 13th. I'll send you all out the correct date and time for that with the Zoom link, the correct Zoom link. I'll send you all, for everyone in this class, will get a code to attend that one for free in case you want to join back up again and hang out with us another time. Thank you all so much. Any last thoughts before we say goodbye?
Are we going to keep in touch?
Yeah.
Please. So the community forum will remain open. So you can always use that just as a group Facebook page, sharing things, anything you like. And of course, we are on Facebook as well, if that's your jam. We have the Narrative Medicine and Pain Care group. And I'll keep you guys on the newsletter list. Feel free to reach out anytime at all. You all have my cell phone number on the community forum, so text me anytime too. I'd love to stay in touch.
I know, and I'm trying to submit an abstract to Edinburgh, Scotland for next summer. So maybe I'll be on that side.
Yeah.
This is more my motivation. I'm like, I got to get over on that side so I can meet you guys in person. At least be that much closer.
Maybe Lorraine, we can do an Irish section.
Yeah.
And Maeve, if you're home, you can join us.
Yeah. If you come, I think the workshops are fun, the monthly thing.
I hope so.
Anna and I do that, and it's similar, and it's really fun. We love it. Yeah. We wouldn't miss it. Sure, we wouldn't, Julia.
No. I love having you guys, and you do complete each other's ideas in the most beautiful way. I love how just the past year of getting to work with you guys in the workshops, it's just mother-daughter goals. The way you rip off each other and you know challenge each other and refine each other. It's beautiful. All right, friends. Thank you so much again.
Lovely.
I'll see everyone.
I have to go. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
See everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.